What's the most unforgettable phone call you've ever received? My wife put both of our kids in the SUV and left for the day. She'd been yelling because I forgot to take out the trash, and mid-argument, she just grabbed the kids and stormed out. I was frustrated and exhausted and ended up falling asleep until I jolted awake to someone pounding on the front door. Not normal knocking, full body slamming. Through the peephole, I saw 2 police officers. My chest tightened. I opened the door and tried to sound normal. "Can I help you, officers?" But the second I saw their faces, the heavy look, the hesitation, I knew something was wrong. And when they took their hats off, my stomach dropped. "Sir," one of them said quietly, "we need to ask you a few questions. Is your wife home?" "What? Why would he open with that?" "No, she left with our kids about 40 minutes ago." "Why? What's going on?" They exchanged a look. "Sir, does your wife drive a silver SUV?" Yes, she does." "Why? What happened?" My voice was rising. "We'd argued, but she was still my wife. She was everything." One of the officers stepped forward. "Sir, you might want to sit down for this." "No," I snapped. "Tell me what happened. Is she okay? Are my kids okay?" He rested a hand on my shoulder. "Sir, there's been an accident on the interstate." My legs nearly gave out. "An accident? No. Are they at the hospital? Tell me where they are." He looked like he hated what he had to say. "Sir, the collision involved a semi-truck. There was an explosion. I'm afraid the crash was severe." The world tilted sideways. I grabbed the door frame to even stay upright. The last thing I'd said to her was, "Fine, whatever. Leave then." I hadn't kissed the kids. I didn't say I love you. I didn't say goodbye. "But," I whispered, "but they're okay, right?" He swallowed. "There were 3 fatalities in the vehicle." I dropped to my knees before he could catch me. My wife, my babies, gone, just like that. I sobbed into my hands, barely able to speak. "Sir, I know this is incredibly difficult, but we need you to come with us for identification. There are procedures." "I need to call her," I gasped. "I have to tell her I'm sorry. I have to." My hands shook violently as I grabbed my phone. I called her. It rang once, twice, voicemail. I called again, straight to voicemail. I was losing my mind. Just let me try again," I begged, dialing with trembling fingers. But before I could finish, my phone started ringing. An unknown number. I stared at it, confused. I almost declined it. I couldn't talk to anyone right now. But one officer gently said, "Sir, sometimes hospitals call from different lines. You should answer." I nodded, barely functioning, and put it on speaker. "Hello?" I whispered. A familiar voice snapped through the speaker. "Don't you dare hang up on me." I froze. It was her, alive, breathing, icy mad, but alive. "Baby?" I choked out. "Is that you?" "Yes, it's me," she said. "And before you start, I'm still angry about this morning. But look, I'm calling from some random woman's phone because mine died. Everything inside me broke at once. I'm so sorry," I cried. "I'm so sorry. I love you." "What are you crying for?" she sputtered. "What is wrong with you?" But I could hear the tiny laugh behind her words. Then she said the thing that tipped me straight into full, ugly crying. "Anyway, I need you to come get us." We stopped at the grocery store, and when we came back out, the SUV was gone. Someone stole it. I bawled so hard the officers stared at me like I needed medical attention. My wife was alive. My kids were alive. They'd just had the van stolen. It was the best phone call of my entire life. The moment the call ended, I couldn't stand. My whole body gave out. Relief hit me so hard it was physically violent. I collapsed forward, bracing myself on the floor with both hands, sobbing in this broken, gasping way that didn't even sound human. The officers knelt beside me, one rubbing my back, the other saying something like, "Sir, hey, breathe. It's okay. They're safe. I couldn't process the word. A minute earlier, I thought my entire family had died in flames. Now they were sitting outside a grocery store arguing about snacks and waiting for me to pick them up. My nervous system didn't know which world was real. The officers helped me stand. Honestly, I think they were worried I might faint, and walked me to their patrol car. "You okay to drive?" one asked. "No," I said instantly. "Absolutely not." They exchanged that professional look, the kind where they silently agree something needs to happen without saying it out loud. "We'll take you," one said. "Where are they?" I gave them the address through shaky breaths. The whole ride, I stared out the window with tears drying on my cheeks, body trembling from leftover adrenaline. One officer even handed me a bottle of water. "You just went through hell," he said softly. I nodded because speaking would have broken me again. When we pulled into the grocery store parking lot, I saw them immediately. My wife standing with her arms crossed, angry at the world. Our son scribbling on the curb with a piece of chalk someone gave him. Our daughter sitting in a shopping cart, kicking her feet happily. All alive, all real, all mine. I stumbled out of the patrol car before it fully stopped. My wife turned, ready to continue the fight from earlier, but the second she saw my face, everything in her froze. Hey, what happened?" she said, walking toward me quickly. I didn't answer. I crushed her in the tightest hug I've ever given anyone. Full body, desperate, terrified, shaking. She stiffened in surprise. "Whoa, babe, what? I thought I lost you," I choked out. "All of you." Her voice softened instantly. She wrapped her arms around me, one hand in my hair. "We're okay," she whispered into my ear. "We're right here." I held her so long our daughter got bored and started pointing at birds. Finally, my wife pulled back enough to look at me. "Tell me what happened." The officers stepped forward and explained about the stolen SUV, the crash report, the mistaken assumption that the victims were them. My wife's face drained of all color. "Oh my God," she whispered. whispered. She grabbed my cheeks with both hands. You thought we were in that car? I nodded, swallowing hard. I thought you were dead. She pressed her forehead to mine. Baby, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. We stood there crying like idiots next to a row of shopping carts. The officers gave us a few minutes before approaching again. Sir, ma'am, we're glad everything turned out okay. Truly. They left after that. My wife looked at me with this mixture of guilt and heartbreak. We should have never left during an argument, she whispered. It wasn't your fault, I said. Life is just life. Then she squeezed my hand. Let's go home, together. So we did. Our kids climbed into the back of the police car, thrilled, like it was a field trip, and the officers drove us home one last time before clocking out. And for the rest of the night, I didn't let my family out of my sight. Not for a second. I don't even remember what the original argument was about. Trash, dishes, shoes in the hallway, none of it mattered anymore. When you think you've lost everything, you realize how little the little things mean and how much the big things matter. And that phone call, the one that flipped my entire world upside down and right side up again in less than a minute, will stay with me for the rest of my life. When we got home, everything felt wrong. Not bad wrong, just unreal. Like we'd slipped into a parallel version of our life where everything looked the same, but none of it felt familiar. The kids ran inside like nothing happened. Our daughter shouted something about wanting macaroni. Our son dumped crayons all over the living room floor. Normal sounds, normal chaos, and yet my hands were still trembling. My wife locked the door behind us, and when she turned around, the bravado she had outside completely crumbled. She walked straight into me, burying her face in my chest. I'm sorry, she whispered. God, I'm so sorry. Her arms tightened around me like she thought I might disappear. I held her close, my chin resting on the top of her head, breathing in the scent of her hair like it was oxygen. Maybe it was. We're okay, I whispered. We're all okay. But the words shook because I still didn't fully believe it. She pulled back slowly, wiping her eyes. You thought we were dead, she said, more to herself than to me. Her knees buckled, and she sat down right on the floor. I sat with her. We didn't talk for a long time. We just sat in the hallway, backs against the wall, listening to our children laugh in the other room. Alive, alive, alive. Every laugh felt like a miracle. Eventually, the kids wandered in. Our daughter climbed right into my lap, totally oblivious, and asked, Daddy, why are your eyes wet? I hugged her tight enough to make her squeal. Our son leaned on my shoulder and said, matter-of-factly, Mom said someone took our car. Are we getting a monster truck now? I snorted out a laugh I didn't even know was sitting in my chest. My wife wiped her face with the sleeve of her hoodie. Sure, she said, let's get a monster truck. They cheered and ran off again. And for the first time since the officers knocked on our door, my lungs loosened. Not fully, but enough. Later, after the kids were asleep, we sat on the couch in the dark. No TV, no phones, no background noise, just us, just breathing. My wife's voice was quiet when she finally spoke. I shouldn't have left like that. I shook my head. It was a stupid argument. We've had worse. Not like that, she whispered. I grabbed the kids out of anger. That's not who I want to be. I took her hand. You had a bad moment. We both did. Today scared us. That's what matters. She exhaled shakily. When the officers came, I continued. I thought my voice cracked. I had to pause. I thought I'd never get another chance to fix anything, I said softly. To say I was sorry, to tell you I love you, to hold them again. Tears welled in her eyes. She crawled into my lap, knees on either side of me, arms around my neck like she was anchoring herself there. I wrapped my arms around her waist, holding her as tightly as she held me. We're okay, I whispered into her hair. We're okay now. She kissed my cheek, a soft, shaky kiss. I don't want to waste any more stupid fights, she murmured. Not after today. Me either. We sat like that for a long time, just holding each other, letting the fear drain out of us, inch by inch. Not all at once. It didn't disappear. It lingered, a ghost around the edges of the room, but it loosened its grip. At around 2 a.m., she finally pulled back and said, I can't stop thinking about the people in that car, the ones who didn't make it. My throat tightened. Yeah, we got lucky today, she whispered. So lucky. She looked at me with this expression that was half love, half devastation. I promise you, she said, voice steadying, I'm never walking out in anger with the kids again. Ever. I nodded. And I promise, I said, I'm not letting us go to bed mad anymore, not even over trash day. She smiled through her tears. Deal. We sealed it with a kiss, not a passionate one, not a movie scene one, just a soft, trembling, grateful kiss of two people who came terrifyingly close to losing everything. When she finally fell asleep on my chest, I stayed awake a little longer, listening to her breathe, listening to the kids snoring down the hall, listening to a house full of life, the kind of life I thought I'd lost forever just hours earlier. And I promised myself something quietly, fiercely, in the dark. I will never take any of this for granted again. Not one laugh, not one argument, not one bedtime story, not one morning kiss, not one messy house or burnt dinner or frustrating day. None of it. Because the most unforgettable phone call of my life wasn't the one that broke me. It was the one that gave me my family back. It happened almost 6 months later. Long enough for life to settle back into its familiar rhythm. School drop-offs, sticky fingerprints on the fridge, arguments about laundry and whose turn it was to buy milk, bedtime stories, Laughing fits over nothing. Small annoyances, small joys, life again. The messy, beautiful kind. But something invisible had shifted. Every time my wife left the house, she kissed me at the door. Every time I buckled the kids into the car, I double-checked the straps. Every night we whispered, "I love you," without waiting for a perfect moment. We weren't scared anymore, just grateful. And that gratitude lived quietly under everything we did, like a gentle hum. But the full circle moment didn't hit until a random Tuesday morning, the kind of day you don't expect to matter. I was taking out the trash. The same chore that started our argument that day. The same chore that felt so stupid in hindsight, I still can't believe we yelled about it. I rolled the can to the curb, half asleep, wearing mismatched socks and old sweats. Nothing special. When I walked back toward the house, I saw our daughter standing on the porch, hair wild, pajamas crooked, holding her favorite stuffed bunny. "Daddy!" she yelled. "Look, Mommy's cooking pancakes!" She said it like we were witnessing a miracle. Maybe we were. I grinned and ruffled her hair before stepping inside. The house smelled like vanilla and butter. My wife stood at the stove flipping pancakes, humming off key, wearing my shirt, the one she steals on purpose. She turned when she heard me and smiled. Not a big smile, not dramatic, just warm, real. "Hey," she said softly, "breakfast is almost ready." And suddenly, the world stopped. Not in fear, not in grief, in awe. Because in that tiny, ordinary moment, I felt it. The full circle click inside my chest. Here we were, the same kitchen, the same woman, the same family, but different people. People who knew how fragile everything was. People who had seen the edge and stepped back together. People who no longer took a single breath for granted. She noticed me staring and raised an eyebrow. "What?" she laughed. "Do I have batter on my face?" I shook my head. "No, I love you." She softened completely. She turned off the stove, walked over, and slid her arms around my waist. "I love you too," she whispered. Then she leaned her forehead on my chest. "You scared me that day," she murmured, "when you told me what you thought happened. When I saw you crying like that, you scared me too," I admitted. "All of you disappearing like that." We held each other for a long moment. Not because we were sad, not because we were afraid, because we were here, alive, together, full circle. The kids came crashing into the kitchen, yelling about syrup, breaking the moment the way kids always do, but I didn't mind. We made breakfast. We argued over who burned the pancake. We cleaned sticky fingerprints off the table. We laughed, we kissed, we lived. Life didn't snap back to perfect. It never does, but it snapped back to precious. And now, whenever I take out the trash, the same chore that once sparked an argument that almost shattered everything, I pause for a second at the curb, just long enough to look at the house, the windows glowing warm, the sound of laughter drifting out, my family moving around inside, safe, alive, home, and every single time without fail, the same thought washes over me. I almost lost all of this, and I'll never forget the phone call that reminded me what everything truly means. Not a car, not an argument, not the small, stupid things. Them, always them.